Welcome to Just Us Up North, another adventure here in the wilds of northern Michigan. We're actually going to make bread today, and I wanted to make bread with you to show you how fun and simple it is to really make bread, especially in this day and age. I do have a KitchenAid, but this is a little smaller mixer than my big one, and even in a small mixer, you can make bread. I start out with 2 cups of hot water, and I just do hot tap water. And if it's too hot to stick your hands in, it's too hot. Cool it down a little bit. I don't take its temperature, check it, or anything like that. I just use 2 cups of hot tap water. And, you know, I carefully measure out about that much honey. Give it a good whisk. Blend it all in with that hot water. It melts. Then I add some yeast. I keep my yeast in the refrigerator because I buy a big block of it at a time. And yeast will go dormant or bad if it's left to its own devices. And that's about how much yeast I put in. I would say a heaping teaspoon, tablespoon, somewhere in between there. And I'm going to give this a good mix. Now I'm going to give that 5 minutes to proof.
While the yeast is doing its thing, I just wanted to talk about our flour storage. We buy our bread flour in I believe it's 25-pound bags, and we store it in these food safe buckets. This is just your Tractor Supply bucket, but this is a food grade BPA free bucket. And then all of our dry goods, we always use these Gamma Seal lids. The ring snaps onto the bucket pretty much permanently. They are tough to get off if you change your mind, so make sure that you want to keep this on there before you put it on there. And then the center screws out, and you have a nice gasket on there so it's waterproof and keeps everything nice and dry and keeps any bugs or anything like that from getting in there. It's just a great way to store your dry goods. We do the same thing with sugar, rice, and oats. And now this is not just long-term storage. This is we store this like this because we use a lot of it. We use out of this regularly, so that's how we store our dry goods.
Okay, my yeast has proofed. I'm going to go ahead and get my dough hook on here. And we use bread flour, so it's going to be all that you need to add. It has the wheat gluten, extra wheat gluten. It has the baking powder. It has everything you need right in here. And I'm going to add 5 cups. You could do this one at a time, but I find it's just as easy to do it all at one time. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of kosher salt. We're going to start this on low. Increase the speed a little bit. Let it work till it forms a ball. Okay, now we're going to check it. It's still a little wet, a little more stickier than I like, so I'm going to add 1 more cup of flour. And again, we're going to start it out on low to not make a flour mess. to check. Let's take it off the hook. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it knead for 5 minutes. Okay. This has been kneading for about 5 minutes. And it's still a little sticky, but it's workable. It bounces back a little when you push on it. So we're going to go ahead and get it pan ready. I have a little bit of whole wheat all-purpose baking flour. And by the way, this bread flour is an unbleached white flour. I'm going to knead it just a little to get it into the shape I want. I'm going to fold it in on itself a little. Form a nice ball. Then right in my bowl, I'm going to put a little olive oil. Spin this around, get it coated with the oil. So it doesn't dry out. We're going to cover it with a clean tea towel. And we're going to let it rise. We'll see in about a half an hour, 45 minutes. It's ready. Okay. Get a little bit of flour. I got my bread pans ready. I opted to put parchment paper in my bread pans instead of greasing my bread pans. I do it both ways. You can grease your bread pans or you can flour them or put parchment in them. And I just like the fast cleanup with the parchment. So I'm punching this down. Gonna roll it right out of there. Work it up just a little. Now this is usually enough dough for 2 bread pans, or you could do 1 loaf of bread and some dinner rolls, and that is you would just take chunks, roll it up, place them in a pan and let them rise and bake them with your bread. You could do cinnamon rolls, a lot of options. Today we're just going to do some bread, and I'm just working with it a little bit, trying to get it in the position that I like it. I like to roll it in on itself and tuck the ends. I'm gonna cut this and split it up. My pans aren't the same size. One is a larger pan and one is a smaller pan. So I'm going to do a smaller loaf for that smaller pan. Give this another tight roll. Tuck the ends. It looks nice and rough. Homemade, authentic. Doesn't have to be picture perfect. And we're going to put it to bed in its nice little pan. I like to put a few slits on the top to let the steam out. Get the second one ready. I'll tell you the smaller loaf usually doesn't make it past the day. It nice and warm, so good with butter. There's the little one in there. Give him some steam slits. We're going to put it back in the corner and cover it up. Back in a half an hour. Okay, it's actually been about an hour because I got busy doing some stuff. This is oven ready. You can, at this point, put a little butter on top, a little oil if you want a crispier top. I prefer it just like this. And if you do get busy and your bread ever rises and falls back in on itself, just take it out, reknead it, and stick it back in there. I have my oven turned on. I just turned it on to 375. I'm going to go ahead and put these in there. And I'm going to check that at 35 minutes. Now comes the really hard part. Not eating it right away. I like to let it cool for about 5 minutes in the pan before I take it out, but I'm going to lift it out so you can get a look at it. Okay, we've managed to wait 2 minutes. I want a better knife. Ooh, it's hot. Very hot. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. Gee, I wonder if I can find a taste tester.
There's the rest of my sample that got snatched out of my hands.
It is really very good. Great flavor. I encourage everybody to make their own bread and be self-sufficient. Don't be relying on the grocery store. I have a nice fresh product in a couple of hours.
All right, I'm gonna cut another piece of this. We just got done fighting over the heel, as we always do. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed our bread making journey, and I just would encourage you to try this yourself. It really is quite simple, and it is absolutely delicious. So until next time, be blessed.